Hello and welcome to ClioCon 2016. I'm glad everyone made it here safe and sound. Well, my name's Joash. I am a customer support specialist here at Clio. I've been with Clio since January, so not very long, but learned a lot. I was able to graduate high school and college on time, which actually makes my mom really proud, but also very, very poor. But that's okay. It means I got a really nice gig here.
My name is Andrea, and I'm the Partnerships Coordinator here at Clio. I manage all of Clio's legal community programs, which would include our academic access program, our Clio, all of our university programs, incubators, and legal clinics across North America. I've been with Clio for about a year and a half, and my absolute guilty pleasure is I love to make guacamole and spread my love of avocado to everybody. So Joash and I are super excited to have the opportunity to kick off the first session of ClioCon 2016 with you all. In our first session, we will guide you through our best practices for setting up an ethical and successful firm in Clio. Now, for guests in the audience who feel like they already have Clio kind of running well, they're moving smoothly through it, we hope to share a few pro tips that you didn't know you needed in today's session. Keep in mind, this is an introductory presentation in the Clio University track, but we will guide you to other complex presentations as we work through our content today. So, setting up a firm in any practice management software can often seem like a tedious task. Depending on if you've used a practice management software in the past, your office might look something like this. So our goal today is to demonstrate how Clio can be a key player in transforming your practice into something that looks more like this.
Yeah, over the next 25 minutes, Andrea and I are going to take you through the basics of setting up your law firm, as she's mentioned. We're going to cover how to put in your firm information, including a firm logo, how to invite your colleagues, how to set up your groups and job titles for your colleagues, create practice areas for your matters, where you can set up your matter numbering, which is quite important, your calendars, and most importantly, and our favorite part, setting up syncs, which are going to allow you to populate information into Clio. But this is where we're going to focus most of our time today, and I'm sure most of you, if you have used Clio, this is where you've been as well. This is what we call our settings menu, but sometimes known as
the gear,
the cog,
the flower,
or the spinny thing to some of our newer customers there. But however you want to say it, it is the settings menu, and it's extremely important and where we're going to spend a lot of our time today.
So before we dive right in, it's very valuable to know that the user who will be responsible for setting up the Clio account must have the permissions to do so. So at Clio, we call those permissions administrative or administrator permissions. If you're not currently an administrator on the account, chances are you've thought about or you have called our support team asking us to turn it on for you. Unfortunately, we have no ability to toggle your permissions. However, a current administrator or the Clio account owner, which is different from the firm owner in some cases, can set those permissions up for you. So as administrative permissions are so important to come by, we will go over on dig in more on how to set those up in a few minutes. So the first addition we're going to want to make to your Clio account will be a big one. Can anybody guess what it is? See you way in the back. We need to give your firm a name, right? It's pretty important that you name your Clio account, you put a name for your firm. So this information will include global details such as your logo, your firm name, your address, your website, and your time zone, date, and format, which is very important moving forward. These details will also populate on your invoices when you're ready to bill your clients in a few hours. You're certainly not married to this information. Just like anything, you can always go in and edit the information if you happen to relocate, merge with a partner, or anything that you need to do. So another important point to note is that the Payment Info tab is located within the Account and Payment Info within your settings menu. And this will include your current billing cycle, a PDF version of your latest bill, as well as the option to update your credit card at any time. So if any of you have called our support team asking, wanting to give them a new method of payment, they will redirect you back to the Payment tab as you are in full control of your account. You will also have the opportunity under the subset to upgrade your account at any time or change your subscription type from a monthly to annual plan, allowing you to save 10% monthly over the year. So Joash is going to walk through some of these easy actions for us. So he's first going to navigate to our settings menu on the top right-hand side of Clio, and he's going to go into the Account and Payment Info tab. Now, as you can see, the first option is to add a firm logo. Clio will give you general guidelines on what will fit best into this picture size. Following, you're going to add your firm name, your address, any contact information you choose. This could be a website, phone number, email, you name it. And finally, the date and time format. This is extremely important. If you use a different date and time format than your clients or your coworkers, it's really important that we make sure that this is all set up and ready to go so we don't get confused. So when he's done making those changes, he's going to go ahead and click Save New Information. You'll notice Clio has very common buttons as you work through the system, and you always are going to look to save the information that you just inputted.
As you can see, firm information is actually very easy to input here. You have your firm name, your firm logo, and you can go ahead and attach those to your bills once you feel ready to start billing your clients. But now it's important to start inviting colleagues. This is important as well. I mean, you want to have all of the users in your firm to be set up. Now, it may seem kind of tedious. You may think it's complicated, but it's actually very easy. All you need is your users' email addresses. I'm going to get Andrea here to show you exactly how easy it is to invite somebody here. So once again, we're going to go into our settings menu, and we're going to get very used to jumping into here. And another button that you're going to get used to, sorry, I'm jumping ahead of myself. We actually need to go to Manage Users first. Now, any edits to any of the users or their information does occur on this tab, so get used to it. I mean, if you're changing people's names because of marriage or what be it, this is where you're going to do it. And to add somebody, we're going to go ahead and click this button that we're going to get used to. It's the Add button. Once you click Add, you'll notice that you have a step to add an email address, a subscriber type. So, if they're not an attorney, they're maybe a legal assistant or what be it, you have the option to choose a non-attorney subtype. You also have the message portion where you can send them a message, maybe click on this link to set up your Clio account, welcome to the firm, anything you'd like to put in there. Groups are great because you can set apart your colleagues. So for larger firms, you have the ability to add them to groups. You have the ability to separate them from matters you don't want them to see. It's really good to get used to this option. But the most important part of this process is the permissions portion. I'm going to talk a little about this right now. You have the ability within Clio to set permissions before somebody joins the account. So you are in total control as an account owner and as an account administrator. The first one I want to touch on is the accounts portion. So this refers to your bank accounts themselves. If you want this person to be able to do some trust accounting for you, it's very important that you have trust accounts, the accounts permissions turned on for them. They also have the ability to see your bank account information if you do put that into Clio. Now, Clio is not attached to any of your bank accounts at your financial institution. So the information you put in there is for your reference only, but feel free to attach this permission to somebody who you feel comfortable sharing that information with. The next one I want to touch on is reports. Reports is the ability for you to extract data out of Clio. So any information you're putting in, where it be billing, payment information, if you want this person to have that capability, then yeah, give them the permission to see reports. Billing. Now, billing does not mean this person is not going to be able to bill for time or anything like that. It actually refers to the billing workflow, so creating bills. So if you want this person to be able to create bills, take payments on bills, it's important they have the billing permission turned on. And the most important one is administrator. If you turn this on, the person has access to everything. Now, I recommend that you have at least 2 people in your account have administrator status. The account owner is automatically going to be an administrator, but it might be a good idea to have somebody else as an administrator that you trust, because if they call support, we require the ability to jump into your settings, and if we have questions about your settings, it's easier to handle that call and your questions if that person has administrator settings. So it is a good permission to have, and it makes it easier for us once you call into support. Now, once you're done, the person is going to receive an email that looks a lot like this. It's going to ask them to be invited into the account. Now, if it's important that they do click on this link. If you go through our main website, what happens a lot, and we see this in support a lot, I'm sure a lot of you have actually gone through this process as well, is that you sometimes set up a trial account. And that trial account means you get a 7-day free trial with Clio, but that's not what you're intending to do, and that's not what we're looking for. We want you to be personally invited into Clio, and the only way to do that is to click on this Activate Account link. Now, it's important to note that we require you to use your own account. Now, the reason for this is, one, it's chaotic and disorganized if you're sharing your login information. We have a hard time gathering information as a support team as to how to fix any issues that come up. The second is that we require to be very clear in what information we produce in Clio. You'll notice that there's something called the firm feed on your practice dashboard. That's where you see any activity that occurs in your Clio account. It's going to say your name and what you did within a matter, or you edited a matter. And if somebody else is in your account, you're not providing clear information, and it's not visible. So for an ethical standpoint, it's important that you do not share your login information with anybody. And if you have questions about that, please feel free to see us up at the Smart Bar or the Clio Lab. We'd be more than happy to talk to you about it. But it is important that you keep your login information secure so your client's information is secure, and you have a clear visibility as to what's going on in this account.
Joe, I don't know about you, but it looks like that I'm doing a lot of the work in here. This is a perfect example of sharing a license, and I'm getting all the credit for this work, so there you go. So while you're in the process of adding users, you also have the option of assigning each of these users what we call a job title. Now, you can add these job titles at any time, but just like anything in Clio, we do urge that you use your customization abilities as quickly as possible to get the most out of the platform. So there are 2 reasons why you might want to add a job title. The first situation would be if your clients require that you generate leads bills. Now, if you have no idea what leads billing is, don't be worried. It's simply an automated billing system mainly used for insurance purposes. If you do work with leads bills, does anyone work with leads in this crowd? No? Doesn't look like it? If you do work with leads bills or encounter someone that does, you should thank them for their patience. It is not an easy system to work through. So if leads bills are required, then an official leads job title will also be necessary. However, the second reason we might want to use job titles is to show transparency to your clients of who is working on their case in the form of an invoice. Now, Clio's billing feature gives you the ability to include a timekeeper summary of work performed on a matter at the base of your client's invoice. We can even further customize that summary to show the job title in the firm of that user. So Joash is going to demo us adding a job title here. He's going to navigate back to the Settings button, then choose Groups, Permissions, and Job Titles. He's then going to click on the Job Titles sub-tab at the top, and then just like everything else, we're going to click Add. Now, as you can see, if he'd like to use the Leads option, you can simply click in the blue option to drop down the Leads list. That will be pre-populated for you. If you choose not to use a Leads option, you can enter your own job title, anything that you want, and then you'll also enter the initials that come along with that job title. Now, this is not the initials of the user, it's the initials of how you'd like to shorten that job title. So once we're done, we're going to click Save, and then what you'll notice is if you click back into the jobs title, Joash is going to add something there, and then if he clicks back into that paralegal job title, he's then able to add active users who are already in Clio and associate them with that job title. So add it first, associate it second. So we have our firm name, we have our users, and we have our job titles. We're moving pretty smoothly through Clio. So now let's talk about the magic of groups. Creating groups within Clio gives you the ability to isolate specific pieces of information from specific users in the firm. This feature is an absolute must for firms that require restricted access to specific cases or restricted access to information within those cases as well. Now we're going to demonstrate how we can isolate the current users we already have into permission-based groups. So once again, Joash is going to head back to settings, back to the same place we were just in. And this time he's going to choose groups, which is set up by default. Now, clicking that green add button, very similar to adding a job title, name your group. So this group could say office administrators. It could say partners. It could say
Team
paralegals.
Amazing.
Team Amazing. There you go. So once you add the group, once again, we'll click back into the group to associate the members of that group. And once again, Clio will only allow you to associate people that have been invited to Clio. So it's important that you have all of your users loaded into Clio before you can associate them with different places. So let's review.
Yeah. So we've gone ahead, we've updated our firm information, we've added colleagues, we've set up job titles for them, we've set up their permissions, and we've assigned them to groups. Now let's transition over to our matters portion of this conversation. Being able to create different practice areas in Clio is going to help you organize your information better and your matters better as well. We're aware that plenty of you dabble in different legal areas, so it's important to associate your matters with these areas. And we're going to show you exactly how easy that is to do. So first, we're going to go ahead, we're going to click back into settings. And this time, we're going to click on your practice area. That's in the top right-hand corner there. Once we're there, pretty easy. We're going to click on practice areas, and once again, the green add button. You're simply going to give your practice area a name. Now, the cool thing about practice areas as well is that whatever you put in this name actually holds no value. It's simply a way to organize your information. So if you're looking for a different way to handle your folder structure, maybe you want to organize it by number, you can put whatever you'd like in here. And it's a quick pro tip that we like to use in order to just organize information, because when you pull this information out of Clio, on a spreadsheet, you'll have a column that says practice areas, and you can organize it and sort through that information however you see fit.
So now on to a really juicy topic that I know you all will love, matter numbering. Who loves matter numbering? I know I don't. Yeah, there you go. So matter numbering in Clio is simply the label that you give to your cases. Now, I can imagine that many of you already have an idea of the file or folder structure you'd like your matters to fall into, and Clio has the ability to automate this process moving forward. If you are unsure about how you'd like to label your cases, especially starting up in Clio brand new, we also give you some preset ideas with plenty of room to customize. So let's take a look at how to get there before we talk about our abundance of options. Joash is going to head to the settings gear on the top right-hand side, click back into practice, and this time the subheading matter numbering. Now, in looking at this matter numbering screen, you can see that there's a lot going on. We have two drop-down menus on the left-hand side. The first one will open up a drop-down menu for Clio's custom matter number presets. So this is our inspiration to you if you would like a place to get started. Now, the second drop-down is filled with Clio's individual building blocks to build a matter, whether that be a client last name, a description, a matter number, or maybe the month that the case was opened. So to build a matter number from the second drop-down menu, you would simply click into the drop-down menu, select the building block you'd like, and then we're going to click not the green add button, just the regular add button right below. So once you've built your matter, you have a couple options on how you'd like this to be integrated moving forward. The first option would be just to go ahead and update your settings, and that matter number would kick in on the next matter that you created. Now, we also have the option to update all existing matters to start at a new number. Let's say you are a brand new lawyer. You have one client, but you don't want that client to know that they're your first matter ever. You can readjust this matter number to start from maybe matter 50, matter 100, whatever numbering scheme you'd like to start on. This is also very applicable if you've merged from another practice management software. So if your cases have left off at 1,152, you can set up Clio to take care of you from there. Now, the second drop-down menu is the checkbox is that you also have the ability to update all existing matters in Clio to reflect the scheme that you just created. So think of it as like a blanket overhaul. With this, you really want to make sure that you're happy with that matter number because there is no blanket undo. You can go ahead and customize each matter number or override them at a matter-to-matter basis, but this is something that you really, really want to be careful of. So here are some common matter labels that might give you an idea of where you might start. So here, Joash is going through a divorce. We have Carey divorce with a date. We have Carey Joash with a matter description. Now, as you can see, we normally have descriptors like a client last name, a numerical label for the number, or maybe the matter description of a brief summary of what it is. But can anyone tell me why the third matter name has been shortened or cut off? Does anyone know how I did that? Perfect. So many users overlook the ability to truncate specific fields to a character limit. So when you're building a matter, you have the ability, as you add a building block, let's say matter description, very common one, you have the ability to truncate the characters up to a 20-character limit if your matter description is crazy long. So if you only want to see those first couple words, we have the ability to do that. It's also very handy if you do leads billing, as there is a character limit that will kick out your leads bill later.
All right. On to, I think, one of my favorite things about Clio is the ability to sync. And we're going to touch on the ability to sync here. It's one of our favorite features. It helps us populate information into Clio, whether that be contacts or calendar events. It just makes it easier for you to get set up. Our migrations team is awesome. They're here to help. They'd love to help. And if you don't have the ability to sync with either Google or Office 365 to bring your contacts in, that's what they're there for. However, you can skip that entire process just by seeing how easy the sync process is. Now, although, like I said, bringing contacts in seems like a tedious task as well, a simple sync is going to get that done. Now, the thing we want to remember before we jump into syncs is, especially with these contact and calendar syncs, is the fact that this is a bi-directional sync. And that means that what happens on one side happens on the other side. Think of it as a mirror. If you delete a contact within Google, that contact will be deleted in Clio. And I've seen it happen multiple times, so just be careful. It is hard to recover that information. So we're going to get Andrea to show you exactly how easy it is to set up a sync. So we're going to go back into our settings menu, and we're going to click on Contact and Calendar Sync. Now you'll notice we have two options here. We have Google and we have Office 365. For the purpose of this demo, we're just going to click on Configure Google Sync. And you get to choose what information you want to bring into Clio. So you have the ability to bring in your calendars or your contacts, even information that's in your Google Drive folder. You can bring that stuff into Clio, and it's a simple integration. For this purpose, we're just going to do calendars and contacts, and we're going to hit Configure Sync, Authorize Google Access. And it's going to ask you to sign into your Google account just to authorize. Once that's done, it does take about 24 hours before your sync is fully set up and running. But once it's done, your contacts are in Clio, your calendar events are in Clio, and it makes it easier to continue work. Now, it's important, once this sync is done, especially with your calendars, to share that information with your colleagues. Sharing is very easy, and in the calendar section, we're going to click on Calendar, and we're going to head to the Sharing subtab of that calendar. We're just waiting here, I guess that's okay. I'll just walk through it. It's very easy. So we're going to go to Calendar, and what we're going to do is we're going to click on the Sharing subtab. Once we're on the Sharing subtab, this is kind of what you're going to see. You're going to see your calendar that you'd like to share, and it's going to ask you to add a calendar share at the bottom. So say Andrea wants to share with Hallie here. So she's going to choose Hallie's name. But the important part of this sharing is the permission setting. So there are some permissions you can associate with this calendar as well. The first one being the editor. So this person has the ability, so Hallie's going to have the ability to create events, delete events, edit events. And if you don't trust Hallie, which sometimes we don't, so we're just going to allow her to view it.
Sorry, Hallie. She's in the audience today. We're giving her a hard time.
So we're going to just allow her to see what's going on. She'll be able to see details pertaining to that event and anything you'd like her to see. But now, we don't trust Hallie. She's continuing to do some shady things. We're just going to let her see when we're available and when we're not. And you have all of that available to you. So very easy. We choose the permission, and then we just hit Update Calendar.
And we made it. Look how quick that was. So that's really all there is to the initial setup of a new firm in Clio. Not as scary and intimidating as we thought, right? So in just under 30 minutes, we've been able to walk you through a handful of topics that will drastically improve your experience with Clio. Moving forward, you should feel comfortable with the following concepts: naming your firm and adding users, setting up job titles, creating groups and practice areas, and finally, choosing your matter label that works for you, as well as syncing your contacts' calendars in your account.
The one thing we like to leave each presentation with is a key takeaway. So I think the one thing that we see, and the one question that we get a lot of, or I shouldn't say question, but I see it come up, the situation where people do not take the time to just set it all up. It's important to do the grunt work at the beginning because it makes it so much easier. You don't want to work for Clio. Let Clio work for you, and just put in the work right away, and it'll make it a lot easier. All right. Now, I know we have some questions, so we're going to open that up, and yeah, certainly. Okay, so the question was, can we associate practice areas with different areas of Clio? So the cool thing about different areas of Clio is that if you do work, you have that ability to have it associated with a matter already. So if you do a simple data export out of Clio onto a spreadsheet, they're all going to be in the same area. So you'll see your practice areas, you'll see any information pertaining to the client on that export as well. So it's important to use your export functionality. Now, a lot of people will jump over the exports because they just kind of have their focus on the Reports tab. And the Reports tab will give you a lot of information, but you'll notice that there are different pages of Clio that have a gray export button at the top right. And that's going to be a place where you can pull out all your data and organize it as well.
And to elaborate a little bit further on that, the practice area will be on a matter level as a whole. However, your documents and your tasks might fall into that matter. So the practice area would be one step removed from maybe where you're looking to put it. However, the new advanced tasks allows you to add a task type that is very similar to a practice area that might help you tie that all in. Any other questions? Yep. Yeah, good question. So the question was, can you isolate specific user groups and associate them with a practice area? So anything labeled family law, only a certain group of users can see it. So the groups are mainly associated with the matter. So all the information would be found under the matter, and that matter could also have a practice area, but it would be your responsibility to add the group to the matter instead of the practice area in general. As if you weren't part of the group that was on that matter, if I wasn't in the group, I couldn't even see that matter existed. I would have no knowledge that it's even there. I would only see my matters that I belong to.
So yeah, if you take a look here just on the demo screen, the matter permissions area of when you're creating a matter or editing a matter, you have the ability to assign it to a group. So we created a group earlier, and you can see Team Amazing is right there. So upon creation of your matter, you'll have the ability to assign it to a group if you choose. No problem.
We probably have time for one last question. Yeah. Yeah, good question. So the question was, if you have shared your calendar and you have other users adding calendar events on your behalf, do they show up as a separate color? Now, each calendar in Clio will have its own color. So if you and I are working in Firm together, you're blue, I'm red. However, if I've given you editor permissions to add on my calendar, it will be red. However, if I double click on that entry, it'll say that you were the one that entered the calendar entry. So the color differentiation is by your calendar versus mine. So if we're both on the same calendar, I could see that I have my calendar up and my task calendar, and then you'd see the blue and green. However, if you're adding events to mine, it's going to show up as my red. However, you will be listed as the creator.
Yeah, it's also important, like I said, when calendar sharing, to get that sharing set up right away. A lot of people will be like, I invited a colleague, but I can't see their calendar. It's just simply because the sharing isn't set up. You need to get sharing set up right away. It's nicer, it's easier if you just set your sharing calendar to Firm, if you're the account owner, so that everybody has visibility. And then you can adjust personal visibility below that as well by adding calendar share. All right. Well, thanks a lot, guys, for coming. It's a pleasure speaking up here and getting to see you face to face, especially being in support and only getting to hear you guys on the phone. So we'd love to see you up at the Smart Bar as well.
Don't forget about our After Dark event tonight. Everyone is welcome tonight. The buses will start to pick us up out front around 6:30, and we'll continue through the evening. It's a great chance to network with your fellow colleagues as well as us. Ask us questions, pick our brains. We are here to help, and we're so excited to be here with you guys.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you.